It was pointed out to me recently that my website did not clearly depict the different bouquet options that I have available for sale. So this week, as well as making up and photographing actual orders, I've also put together some bouquets specifically with a photo shoot in mind. And then over the course of this week, I'm going to be uploading various videos demonstrating these different bouquet options that I sell and also how they're presented to my customers.
In this week's video, we are going to be making up flower orders, various different sizes of bouquet, vase arrangements that people order online on my website. And you can just see the various different methods I use to make up the different orders as I get them ready for delivery. Lots of you have asked me before about spiral bouquets. Now, my largest bouquet, which I'm going to make now, is always a spiral. And there are a couple of things that, as I've been making them, I found have helped. So the first thing, you need to know if you want your bouquet to be quite loose, a meadow-like, garden-like, or if you want it to be quite posy-like, quite tight and round, because where you hold the flowers in terms of distance up the stems will reflect the end result. So if you want quite a tight posy, you want to hold your flowers quite near the top, and you will position them closely together, and as you spiral around they'll stay closely together. If you want a much looser effect, then you want to hold your stems further down, because obviously if you're holding them further down then there's more negative space. So it really will depend on your style. And even if you're starting low down because you want that really wild look, if your hand's too tight and you do that, you automatically, so you can see if I've got a loose hold on my hand, the flowers are loose, can you see? But as soon as I grip like that, so it does, not only does it depend where on the stems you hold the flower, but it also matters how tightly you grip them. Now, when I make my other bouquets, I make them in my preferred way, which is crisscrossing. And if I'm making a bouquet in a hurry, that's my preferred way to do it, because I can, it gives me greater, can't think of the word. I can manage what the bouquet looks like more. I can be more fussy about it. Whereas if I'm doing my large bouquet, which is spiral, I don't even really see what I'm doing because I lay my flowers over there somewhere on top of each other. So let's take one of these Bouquets to start. So that was another thing. When I started making these bouquets, someone would give me the advice, add 3 stems, then twist, then add 3 stems and twist. Now the reason that it might work for some people, but say I added 3 linear flowers, let's go for something even skinnier. Let's say I added 3 larkspur, and then I turn and I add 3 sunflowers. The bouquet is just not going to be balanced because the 3 sunflowers take up way more surface area than the larkspur. So if you are going to do a really religious process of 3 stems then turn, 3 stems and turn, try and do it so that you're doing a bigger flower with sort of a smaller flower, just so that in the end it will be balanced. I don't tend to count 3 and turn. I tend to just go with how it feels in my hand and sort of the balance. So I'm not going to turn yet, I'm going to add something else. I sort of wanted that on there, but it's too far down the stem. Then I'm going to turn. But you can see I'm not really looking at what I'm doing. I'm just laying flowers on top of one another. It's, for me, I think bouquet making is more about the selection of flowers. So that process of me a minute ago, choosing flowers that seem to take forever, the reason that takes forever is because that is the really, really important bit that you really want to get right. Did I? Oh no, I did put a bit of floral in. And by laying it like this, I almost don't even grip them at all. That's a lot of linear. Ooh, I know, I know. And you can mess with heights in a minute, so you don't need to worry too much about what it looks like at the moment, because you can adjust all of that in a minute, which is why I'm not really looking at it, because it'll be really easy to overthink it then. And I'm looking to see, I've got a sunflower over there, so that'll be another good place for a sunflower. Bit of oregano. Let's have a piece of nigella. Okay, and then I'm just going to twist it again. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this quite heavy bit of the plurum in. And then, because that is quite heavy, let's get a stilby in there. Not quite ready for another sunflower yet. Obviously, you know, in a minute when I adjust heights, things like this Lavatra are being abused by being too deep in. But we'll tweak stuff in the end. But this is just to give you an idea of where I'm at the moment. And again, I'm not really, definitely not overthinking it. You can see what I'm doing. Haven't even put the dahlias in. Do you know, I said I was going to have too many stems. I wonder if I'll even put the dahlias in. Right, now I'll start to look at the shape and I'll think where it looks a bit like it needs to be a bit rounder, I'll add something else in. Turn that sunflower. I decided because it's for a photograph, of course I do want the dahlia. I keep forgetting that this is for the photograph and not an order. So I do sort of need it to look pretty good. I want this to make people want to order flowers from me. But I'm only going to put 3 dahlias in. I don't know why I had 4. Oh, I know, because I cut the stem off that one, didn't I? Right, now how many extra stems did I have? Because that's looking nearly ready. I think it was only, I say it was 50 and it needed to be 45, so only 5. So I just want to take 5 things off the table and I want to put everything else in. I don't usually count the grasses anyway. It's quite spiky already. There's a lot of spikes. So let's take the sorrel out. I want the other pink pocus because I want it to be balanced. I love the dark of the oregano. When it gets to this stage, it obviously is quite heavy. So I took 3 things off. What else am I going to take off? Do you know what? I don't think we need the cress. We can use that in one or the other. We could use that in the actual order, the cress. Right. We're on the home straight. Gets to the point where it gets quite heavy. So I'm looking for this to be about 45 stems. But before I add my last stems now I'm just gonna give it all a bit of a tweak just so that I can see where I'm missing a particular colour, what's getting lost. Because this is for a picture, I'm just going to edit it ever so slightly. Right, and then we've just got the 3 grasses to add in. So the camera turned itself off just when I was adding the grasses, but it was only 3 grasses, so you get the idea. And then the idea is that, you know, people can see that that's spiraled in the vase. So, you know, it's not just the top of the bouquet, it's the bottom. Now, these stems are quite long because really ideally it should be twice or 2.5 times at the most higher than your vessel. But remember, on my care card, I asked the recipient to cut the stems and change the water. So it gives them room to do that. If I started with the stems too short and then they cut them, it would look a bit silly. And not only that, once this goes into a box, because this is my most expensive offer, and once it goes into the box, there's tissue paper and what have you as well, but you know, you want the flowers to be in proportion with the box. Anyway, we need to, because we want to wrap this for the website, I do need to go ahead and add tissue paper. Sometimes bright light isn't a photograph's best friend, so, oh, it's a shame that's got a bit of a stain on it. I'll put something on top of that. Thank you so much for joining me again this week as we create some lovely flower orders from an abundant garden full of early July flowers. If you did like the video, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed and following my growing, my gardening, my cut flower journey, then you can of course subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to contribute towards the making of these videos, there is a link in the description to buy me a coffee. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.